Welcome to this live stream from First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. Our mission is to love radically, grow ethically and spiritually, and serve justly. We invite you to visit our website at www.ucdsm.org. It's a great way to explore all that our church has to offer, from adult programs, to religious education, to social justice work, and more. But the best way to know us is to visit on a Sunday. We'd love to get to know you over a cup of coffee after the service. Speaking of which, today's service will begin shortly. So now we'll take you inside.
Hear these words from Reverend Linda Hart. Every day is a new start, every year a beginning, or so we'd like to believe. And we don't know, can't anticipate where we will go, what will happen, what delights await, what heartbreaks will tear us open, the paths unexpected that open before us.
Even knowing that, we lean our lives in particular ways, focus on particular moments, incline our attention to what is in our hearts and lives and hands to offer. We come here amidst the discoveries and delights, the worries and woes, to find a moment to connect, to pause on their journey in gratitude and sorrow. It is good to be together.
Please join me in the chalice lighting words. We light this chalice, symbol of our living tradition, to mark our time together. Here in this fellowship of love, we give and receive the gift of attention. May this flame remind us of the love which binds us together.
And now we stand and pass the peace. And if you don't want to do that, you know how to avoid it.
Please remain standing and join me in hymn number 21. Sorry about that. Verses 3 and 4, For the Beauty of the Earth.
Good morning. I'm Susan Bridgeford, she, her, co-celebrant this morning. We welcome all people who welcome all people. We welcome all genders, ethnicities, bodies, and stories. Whatever you are carrying with you, whatever you long to set down or pick up today, may you find here the love, support, and encouragement you seek. As you may have noticed, a construction trailer is parked in the west entrance drop-off lane, blocking the circle drive-through for the duration of our renovations. As a result, we are temporarily making the south parking lot the place for all drop-off and pickup, and reserving all those parking spaces for people with accessibility needs. Construction is exciting, but stressful. May we be gracious and patient through all the temporary adjustments we make. Our building and property is transforming into something truly beautiful and sustainable.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Martin, co-celebrant for today. As Unitarian Universalists, we embrace pluralism, the idea that we are all whole and worthy, while diverse in our culture, experience, and theologies. What holds us together, given these differences? Covenants, which are commitments to each other. Please join in sharing a covenant to support the mission of this church. we covenant together to advance our mission to love radically, grow ethically and spiritually, and serve justly.
Please join me in hymn 1009, Meditation on Breathing. We will sing it through 3 times.
If so, I don't know. Well, kids at heart, Susan. We're all kids at heart. Kids at heart, okay. Well, I'm going to have to hold this, I guess. Our story today. Está bien. Oh, thank you. Technically challenged. Thank you for being here. Well, today's story is from Greek mythology. Hello. And it's a story of Demeter and Persephone. Now, Demeter was the goddess of harvest, and her daughter, well, she was another goddess floating around. Demeter cared for the earth, especially for the harvest and things that were growing. And we're starting to see things growing now, aren't we? Yeah. Well, she cared for the crops, the trees, the plants, and Persephone especially loved flowers. Everything was really good. Things were growing all the time. But as you know in stories, it didn't stay that way. Hades came around. Hades was the king, the ruler of the underworld. And he had been watching Persephone. Oh, she was beautiful, kind, looked over things, and he decided, I want her to be queen with me. So he popped up out of the earth, and he grabbed her. And he took her to the underworld. If somebody took you away from your mother, what would you feel? Yeah, not so good, and Persephone didn't feel so good either. Even though Hades put out all this fancy food for her to eat, she didn't eat any of it because she knew there was a catch. If you ate any food while you were in the underworld, you had to stay in the underworld. And Persephone was missing the flowers, the sun, the trees, the crops, even Lake and all of her friends, and she wanted to be back there, but she couldn't find a way to get there. She got so hungry. She finally went and ate 6 pomegranate seeds. I don't know, have you ever seen a pomegranate? It's a big round fruit, but it's got all these tiny seeds and they're really juicy and tasty, and she tasted 6 of them, and then she knew what she did and she started to cry. And she wasn't the only one crying. Her mother was crying too, missing Persephone. Oh, Demeter stopped taking care of the crops, the trees, all the flowers, and they all began to die. She didn't care. She didn't care a thing about any of that. She just wanted to find her daughter. She looked all over, flying all over, because gods and goddesses can do those type of things. And she couldn't find her. Hi. Well, I don't know who told Zeus, another name, another god floating around. He was the king of the gods. And he looked down and saw that the earth was just turning brown like my clothes. Things were dying. And he thought, this cannot happen. Oh, I know. Having a mom with a good lap is great, isn't it? Yeah. Well. So Zeus decided he had to do something. He went down to Hades himself and said, you have got to let Persephone get back with her mother. And Hades went, no way. She's eaten of the fruit here. She's got to stay. Zeus wasn't quite sure what to do. He looked at Persephone. What did you eat, he asked. And she said, I only ate 6 tiny little pomegranate seeds. Ah, Zeus wasn't only a good god. He was kind of like a good lawyer. He saw a little loophole here. He thought, only 6 seeds? She didn't eat the whole fruit, Hades, he said. Therefore, I have decided Persephone will stay with you for 6 months of the year, and for 6 months she will be up with her mother. Well, they argued back and forth, but that's what it turned out to be. Nobody was really happy with the decision. Isn't that what often happens? But Persephone got to go back. When she came out, her mother was so excited. They both went around and started caring for the things around the earth again. Now, you know, oh goodness, I got to see where I was. So many pages here. This is a story that the Greeks had for deciding how things worked in the world. Why is it that there were seasons? We're just getting done with winter. Spring actually started on, was it Thursday at 9:47 a.m.? Kinda. And this is a time, have you noticed the sun in the morning? Right now, if you look out when the sun first comes out, it is due east. Our world goes around the sun. Now, the Greeks used to think it was the sun that went around the earth. They didn't have all the tools we have now, but they were still smart. They paid attention. They paid attention to the sun. They paid attention to what was happening in the world. And they made up stories like this to kind of decide what it was. Now, because you've paid attention this morning, whether you were in somebody's lap or not, I have a gift for you. Let me back up. It's a growing cup. Have any of you ever eaten a radish? Yes. It's round, like a pomegranate seed, or pomegranate, but it's not as big as that. But it grows really fast. And if you pay attention, may I give one to you? Now, don't open it right now because there's a bunch of soil inside, and I can see where that would happen. Here for you, Alex. Here for you, Dominic. And I'm also going to give you a sheet. You need one too? Okay. And just like Persephone, who was sometimes up above and sometimes down below, here we go. Thanks. Radishes are that way too. You'll see you do this and take care of it, give it water and sunlight. In about 5 or 7 days, those seeds are going to burst out of the soil and you'll have little leaves.
The leaves going to grow flowers?
You know, they do if you let it grow long enough. But you're probably going to eat the radish before that happens.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not? Well, you know, if you're patient and you want to be there for that, that is great. So, Okay, I'm going to give you these instructions, and you know what? Didn't know what to expect, and if there are some young at heart children here, I've got some growing cups you can come up and get later too. So that's the story of Demeter and Persephone. Thank you for paying attention today.
Okay. Good morning. That's a hard act to follow. Susan and the kids. And spring. Hi, I'm Courtney Wolf, pronouns she, her.
I'm Linda Lemons. My pronouns are she, her. We are both core leaders of the Peace, Justice, and Democracy team here at First Unitarian. Based on our UU values and covenants, we are inviting you to march with Reverend Steve for a weekend of resistance and witness. On Saturday, March 28th, we will join Indivisible, the local Des Moines group organizing the No Kings rally at the Capitol. No Kings is committed to nonviolence, peaceful action. We will be building on the methods of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. because, like him, we know that ultimately love is the only value that will transform violence and hatred. We will be joining millions of fellow citizens at No Kings rallies across the country as we side with love and advocate for human rights, peace, justice, and democracy.
Several of our fellow Unitarian members have been involved in planning this event and will be working at the rally. Laura Fry and Elaine Imlau will be working as safety marshals. Choir director Karen Kramer and several members of the choir will be on stage singing and helping to lead chants and increase the energy. Our thanks. On Palm Sunday, March 29th, we will again be led by Reverend Steve as we join Interfaith Alliance of Iowa and walk to the Capitol to stand with our neighbors. This is an ecumenical Christian action to take advantage of the Palm Sunday message and the call in Matthew 25 to care for our neighbors. It will include elements of worship and a sending forth with a call to action. To prepare for these events, we invite you to gather this afternoon from 1:30 to 3 in Griffin Hall to organize and strengthen our First Unitarian community. We'll learn de-escalation skills, answer questions, and provide materials to make signs, and maybe practice some songs. There's a flyer in today's bulletin with information about the events. We encourage people attending the rally to email the PJD team to let us know you're coming. We'll see you later.
Hey, Louise, have you heard about this food fair thing? You know, I saw these table tents out there that are all set up with this lovely artwork on them. What exactly is it?
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. So it's the biggest and most fun fundraiser for the church. Essentially, you and a few others create some experiences to be had around food. Any kind of food. All sorts of events. The food fair crew sell tickets to the event, and the ticket sales go to the church budget. The best part is that you've created a way for folks to get together and eat. Or you could auction a food item, maybe your sourdough starter or your favorite pie.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. I've seen these pictures on our Facebook page, and there's like the website that the church has, but I wasn't really sure how I could access these events. I sometimes wanted to be there, but didn't know how to get there. So what if I want to host an event, though? What am I supposed to do then?
You bet, you bet. So, well, the food fair crew has made it super easy. So you pull together, you and your co-hosts, if you have them, to pick a date, set a location, write a little blurb. Things like, it's going to be pie on Pie Day, and we're going to be at the church, and here's your host, and it's X many dollars. Great, perfect. So you fill out the event form, which is available online on the food fair page. So your event and date can be reserved, and it's all explained in the event form. So just read the form. And it can be then it'll be added to the ticket sales list for the sales and kickoff dinner on April 25th.
Okay, so I think I got it. So I have this idea, but if I go to that link then, if I use the QR code or somewhere on the website, I should be able to find it.
Yep.
Okay.
It's that easy. So what kind of events are you thinking about?
So a Lebanese dinner, maybe. I know somebody who's really good at that. And I've recently been talking to somebody about this idea of an across the ages dinner. You know, guests can bring a picture of themselves from their first or second generation of life. Can you find one of those in your house? And then maybe we'd serve food from the different generations, you know, like Kool-Aid or mincemeat Jell-O. Doesn't that sound so delicious, right? Yeah, or I thought maybe I'd just sell some cookies in a jar at the auction. I don't know. We'll come up with something.
Oh yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, we once a year have a murder here, and it's a
murder.
very popular event. So it's all good. All right. So I think you've got it.
All right.
Just be sure to get all your submissions in by April 13th. Pull out your calendar right now.
Your little pen. Write it down.
Yep, all your submissions in by April 13th, so make sure you just got that form filled out. The food fair team will collate all the events for everyone to preview by April 17th, because of course we all like to check off and say, this is my first choice, my second choice, my third.
Be ready.
Then, again, pull out your calendar. On Saturday, April 25th at 5 p.m., you bring a potluck dish to share, plus your calendar, your checkbook, and a credit or a debit card.
Cash App card. We're modernizing here. Who's got their Cash App card? I'm kidding.
Cash App card. All the things. Yeah, we'll probably take Bitcoin at this point. So yeah, and be ready to buy your tickets to your favorite events, and we'll have all sorts of people helping to do it right. This all happens in Griffin Hall. There will be remaining sales the next day on April 26th. Whatever's left will continue to be sold the next day during Forum.
All right, I think I got a handle on it. But if I have questions or some ideas, or maybe I want to host, but I don't know who to host with, who should I talk to?
Well, actually, they can talk to you.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Or Or Elaine Imlau, of course.
Vicki Scott, I see, is here as well.
Vicki Scott as well. And there's going to be a table outside the service today for anyone who has questions or wants to connect to find out how you can join a team for an event so that you don't have to do it all by yourself.
And next steps is we might be hounding for just a little bit of help on the 25th and 26th. So if you're interested in doing that to support as well, just let us know. Thanks, everybody.
It's a hard act to follow. My name is Ellen Taylor, Pastoral Care Associate for our congregation. Whether you're in a moment of celebration, grief, or something more complicated, the Pastoral Care team is here to support you. Sometimes just being heard can help lighten the load. There are several ways to reach us: by emailing pastoralcareteam@ucdsm.org, calling or texting our phone number listed on the screen, through the Caring Community page on the church's website, by filling out a card and dropping it in the Cares and Concerns box, or by speaking with me or any member of our team. Here's what's been shared with us this week. Louise Alcorn shares that her beloved stepmother, Susan Alcorn, passed away on Wednesday. Louise says, "I'm so grateful to everyone who let me step away from my life for a couple of weeks so I could be with my brother Justin, caring for the last days of our beloved stepmom. She was able to see her son, all her 10 grandkids, and us, and died as she lived, fierce and loving." And now Barb Martin has a piece to share.
I know many of you know this, but I have shared before that after eating quite a lot of pie last Saturday, Bruce started having some dizzy spells, and his device went off, and he needed to go to the emergency room, and he was admitted. He's been there since Saturday night and was scheduled for a bypass on Friday, but that got postponed because of an emergency that the surgeon had to deal with. So he will be going into surgery tomorrow morning, starting his prep at 6 a.m. So they promised he would be next on the list. So he's in good spirits so far, but today, and I mean, would be a good day if you want to call. He's just lounging around being taken very good care of. Okay.
Thank you, Barb. If you or someone you know is navigating loss, the Grief Support Circle meets on the second Sunday of each month at 3 o'clock in the minister's office, and everyone is welcome to attend. The next gathering is on April 12th. We know the heart holds more than can be spoken here, names and faces, stories and needs. But let us now voice them either aloud or silently, or by adding them in the chat, and may the love of this community hold them all. We now light 3 candles, one for the joys and sorrows shared aloud, one for those shared in writing, and one for those held silently among us. For all these, we now observe a minute of silence.
Join me in hymn 1031, Filled with Love and Kindness.
We come now to the offering, recalling the value of attention. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, and attention and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. Kudos to Al Powers for his quiet and enormous servitude to our church. The incredible amount of projects that Al does all over the church and grounds saves our church thousands of dollars. Thank you, Al. We appreciate you. From the Georges, this is from Lynn and Kelly George and all of us. We now take up our morning offering as a practice of our generosity, for in giving we receive.
These roses under my window make no reference to former roses or to better ones. They are for what they are. They exist with us today. There is no time to them. There is simply the rose. It is perfect in every moment of its existence. Before a leaf bud has burst, its whole life acts. In the full-blown flower, there is no more. In the leafless root, there is no less. Its nature is satisfied, and it satisfies nature in all moments alike. But we postpone or remember. We do not live in the present, but with reverted eye lament the past, or heedless of the riches that surround us, stand on tiptoe to foresee the future. We cannot be happy or strong until we too live with nature in the present, above time. A person will worship something. Have no doubt about that. We may think our tribute is paid by a secret in the dark recesses of our hearts, but it will out. That which dominates our imaginations and our thoughts will determine our lives and character. Therefore, it behooves us to be careful what we worship, for what we are worshiping is what we are becoming. I now invite Aaron Rosenfeld, who is going to divulge a bit of his life for us. And he said that would be enough of bio for him. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Aaron Rosenfeld. I use he and they pronouns. I'd like to present a plea for radical grace. This is really a plea I am making to myself, and I hope all of you can take something away from it as well. I'm going to start by presenting a selective and frankly kind of unpleasant autobiography. From a very early age, I could not help but notice how different I was from all the other kids. Or, to be more specific, from all the other Jewish kids I associated with. Under my upbringing, I was already set apart from the majority of society as is. At recess, while the other kids naturally formed little groups and started talking, I mostly minded my own business. I wasn't specifically preoccupied with anything else, mind you. I was just flummoxed by the state of affairs and how these kids went about it. It seemed automatic to them, but not to me. I don't think this specifically distressed me at first, but it did in due time. At the age of 6, I learned the word frustrated, and I identified with it. Hard. Memories are a bit too fuzzy to isolate specifics, but I know that I felt some deep internal tension woven into the normal social and educational rhythms of kindergarten. I did not enjoy and was not motivated by the same things as these other kids. When I became fascinated by a thing, I became preoccupied and often overwhelmed by it. By grade school, I started having tantrums. One of the worst that I can recall was in 2nd grade when I scored a 98% on a test because I forgot to fill in one question. I begged and pleaded with the teacher. It seemed so unfair. I knew the answer. I just missed it. My teacher was flummoxed by the intensity of my reaction, but obstinate not to change it. I broke down crying for a very long time, and when I finally stopped crying, I had an involuntary sniffle that persisted for hours, which I was told was very disruptive to the class. By 4th grade, the other kids realized that my tendency towards tantrums could be exploited towards hilarious effect. This is when things got particularly miserable for me. Before, my sense of alienation felt a bit more incidental, but now it was deeply pointed. When I came to my parents with these issues, their response was always the same. Just ignore it, often delivered with a deep sense of exasperation, as if this was both obvious and easy. But I couldn't ignore it. That was not how my mind worked, and being told to do so only deepened my sense of helplessness and frustration. It's at this point I should note where I attended school. At the time, it was called the Hebrew Academy of Indianapolis, but was renamed on its 25th anniversary to the Haston Hebrew Academy of Indianapolis. Not by coincidence, this is my mother's maiden name. My grandfather and great-uncle founded the school to promote Jewish education. I mention this because I suspect my teachers and school administration might have been a bit bolder about pursuing interventions if they didn't feel like their employment was on the line because they might embarrass my family with me. By 6th grade, I remember one of my Judaica teachers, Rabbi Levy, telling me that if I were his kid, he would have pulled me out of that school by then. I was also never really capable of interacting with the religiosity I was raised with in a way that did not feel like self-harm, with all the superlatives that it was laden with. When I was younger, I attended a Jewish day camp in Indianapolis that was staffed by Lubavitch teenage girls. I mention Lubavitch because that's a specific set of Hasidic Jews who have a very specific zeal for the Messiah, who may or may not be their deceased spiritual leader, Menachem Mendel Schneerson. So, it could be called a cult. These girls would start every day having us scream songs about how badly we wanted the Mashiach. So naturally, I followed their lead so hard that I developed screamer's nodules, which is a vocal injury typically seen in professional singers. So I got speech therapy, which, to be fair, might contribute to my mellifluous diction to this day. When I turned bar mitzvah, that's actually a thing that happens passively under Jewish law, I started putting on tefillin in the morning. Tefillin, which are sometimes referred to as phylacteries, are a pair of boxes connected to leather straps, each containing scrolls of parchment within them. The shel rosh, the one that goes on the head, is straightforward to don. You just do this and you do this. The shel yad, the one that goes on the arm, requires a specific technique for wrapping, which varies by specific religious tradition. You wrap it around 7 times around your forearm, and then additional wrappings around the hand. But when I put mine on, I could not help but wrap it too tight. My arm would turn purple over the course of the prayer service. Sometimes my hand would even turn white. I remember people around me telling me not to go so tight, but the intensity of the ritual, of all the divine obligation that it carried, made it impossible for me to be merciful to myself. So I want to note here, my entire identity was framed about Orthodox Judaism. I had to do these things. I was a bad person if I didn't. I was constantly being judged by God, with my fate being judged anew every Rosh Hashanah and sealed anew every Yom Kippur. By the time I was 14, I was sent to yeshiva, a religious boarding school for Orthodox boys. I skipped 8th grade to get out of the academy, specifically because things had gotten so bad for me there. It turns out that the boys at the yeshiva could be just as mean, and now I had to live with them. By the end of my sophomore year, I was hospitalized with ulcers and enterocolitis. After the hospital, I found a new and intense edge to my foul disposition. I was sent to adolescent medicine specialists who, despite lacking any cultural literacy for what I was going through, were quick to diagnose me with depression and throw a pill at me. When they followed up, I was disheveled, struggling with deep philosophical questions associated with taking a pill to improve something that I perceived as an innate moral quality, and neither trusting nor open to these clinicians. So, of course, the diagnosis was that I was psychotic. Another pill. These meds in particular might have done some permanent damage to me. I already struggle with anhedonia, which is diminished ability to experience pleasurable sensation. And these medications, dopamine antagonists, which is what antipsychotics are, pharmacologically actually make this worse. My parents ended pulling me out of yeshiva and put me into public high school, which my father considered a last resort because, quote, they'd take anyone with a pulse. I was pleasantly surprised at being treated considerably better by the diversity of kids at public school than I ever had been elsewhere. During these years, I was continuously at odds with my parents, who were unequipped for even the mildest teenage rebellion. My father fixated on sternly telling me that I wasn't functional. When I was 15, he called me a shadow of my former self, which is not a lot of thing to have shadow for. My mother was perpetually indignant and judgmental. Within a few years, I gained enough independence and enough perspective to be willing to break away from orthodoxy. It was killing me, and so the only resolution was to amputate that part of myself. Even liberated, I failed to find my place in the world, to connect with others, or to even complete schooling or hold down a job. I was still suffering intensely from crushing emotional pain and dysfunction, and it bled out into all domains of my life. I started college but dropped out quickly. I worked terrible food service jobs and performed them poorly. I tried being a paramedic, I suppose, because it was an avenue towards going into medicine like my father that seemed attainable, but I was wildly unsuited to that profession on a fundamental dispositional level. I was, thankfully enough, still being supported that things never got too desperate financially, and I frequently think about what that signifies for others in an analogous position to mine who are less fortunate along those lines. I kept going back to psychiatrists and therapists, desperate to find some sort of help that would enable me to become independent, to stop experiencing such deep emotional turmoil, and to stop being so lonely. Many therapists and dozens of medications later, in addition to 2 forms of ketamine, RTMS, and about 36 sessions of ECT later, it's safe to say that psychiatry and the mental health industry, more broadly, lacked the requisite tools to help me. Until my late 20s, I assumed that I just needed to get an accurate diagnosis. Doctors were all over the map with me. After being diagnosed with schizotypal personality disorder and subsequently disowning that diagnosis, I started to realize that there probably wasn't going to be a correct diagnosis. And here, I want to take a little moment and let everyone sit with this phrase: personality disorder. If this isn't stigma, I don't know what is. I see it as an affront to human dignity. Now, I know there are members of our congregation that work in the mental health field. I don't want to be unduly harsh, but I do need to speak to my lived experience and what I have heard of others. There is the simple truth that some people struggle with issues that these professions, as of yet, lack the means to meaningfully understand or describe, much less address. It's also true that just by default, every mental health professional has at their side, at all times, a little button that locates the onus of a patient's pain onto the patient. Now, there are many contexts where it's healthy and valid to challenge a person to take ownership and responsibility of certain things in their life, to cultivate healthier attitudes and habits, etc., etc. But there are other contexts where that button is pressed to avoid dealing with difficult questions and to ease the clinician's own sense of helplessness. That is my lived experience of this matter. To my thinking, having a diagnostic category of personality disorder feels like putting a paperweight on that button and leaving it there. Naturally, this button gets pushed more with people whose distress is shaped by racism, misogyny, homophobia, transphobia, ableism, and of course, good old-fashioned poverty. So I have to wonder again, if things went the way they did for someone like me, how badly are they going for others with similar internal struggles? Until quite recently, I used the label mentally ill to describe myself, even though I couldn't really elaborate on the descriptor. Mood disorder was about as specific as I could get. In recent years, I've seen the term neurodivergent become increasingly common. I've historically bristled at it for a few reasons. Firstly, neuro implies a level of scientific understanding regarding our intrinsic differences that, after a great deal of research, I do not believe exists yet. More importantly, though, I think the need to recognize that some of us experience the world in radically different ways should not be contingent upon neuro anything. I understand that the imprimatur of scientific legitimacy carries weight, and I hold no ill will to those who take comfort from it for themselves or who would seek to wield that imprimatur as a shield. The definition of neurodivergent is a bit of a moving target. I'm not an expert on it. I'm not even fully in community with those who identify with it yet, and I'm not claiming specific authority beyond my observations. But at a high level, the most common definition is based on a specific cluster of psychiatric diagnoses, autism, ADHD, and learning disorders being the biggest ones. The broader significance of the term, though, I think is a recognition of people that have significant differences in cognitive functioning, how they think, affect, so patterns of speech, facial expression, posture, social and emotional processing, sensory perception, and executive functioning, which is loosely getting your stuff together. That last one is why I ended up revising this very reflection and was writing this sentence at 4 a.m. last night. But despite the messiness, despite my nitpicking, I have found value in identifying as neurodivergent. The superficial, obvious benefit has been the simple social cachet of being afforded a wider berth by identifying as such. Not to excuse any bad behavior, mind you, but just to contextualize my numerous idiosyncrasies in a way that people might tolerate, if not fully understand. Furthermore, I do think it's been beneficial to recognize that alongside my struggles are a set of gifts, both due to innate aptitudes from these differences and due to the skills I've had to cultivate to make my way through the world with them. Simply framing differences as having both upsides and downsides has allowed me to start excavating pieces of myself that I buried to fit in. But perhaps more importantly, allowing myself this label created a deeper shift in me. So earlier I mentioned that I had my intellectually valid objections to this term, but there was something a little more profound holding me back. And this is where I circle back to my call for radical grace. I often felt frustration and resentment towards others who present with these traits I saw in myself. The low self-esteem and self-hatred I felt over all these years naturally worked its way out of my body onto others. I saw patterns in the others that I had worked hard to hide or compensate for, and I judged. I saw people in situations that I myself constantly feared being in, and so I feared them. I even deigned to presume that others simply didn't have it as bad as me. Love that phrase. As I've warmed up to having language that puts me in community with others, I became much more attuned to the internal struggles of the people around me, around the right people, and in the right contexts. My armor came down, and things that had previously bothered me started to make sense through a different light. A tic or a stilted affect no longer annoyed me. When I saw people being brusque or prickly, I stopped centering my own indignation and became curious about what they were dealing with. If I recognized myself in someone who was clumsy or long-winded or a bit too discursive to be lucid, I found a generous reserve of patience. Rather than trying to identify some narcissism of small differences, some way in which my struggle has been different, I am growing, still, to identify points of kinship and familiarity. And in doing so, I am finding greater acceptance of myself. Thank you.
And I do have a little bio for Denise Rathman. She is a licensed master social worker and executive director of the National Association of Social Workers in Iowa and Kansas. And these positions were used gave her a variety of skills that she developed in her career, which are such as the workforce development, public policy, including lobbying and government relations, community and political organizing, and campaign and election compliance. She has a major in international relations from Drake University, and has been a member of Holy Cross Lutheran Church in Anita, Iowa, and in several Unitarian churches like Washington, D.C. and Sioux City. And finally, she's here with us to share.
Wow, I have a lot of preambles to all of this. First one is, I can attest to what Barb said about Bruce enjoying a lot of pie last Saturday. I happened to be sitting at their table, so I'm glad he got that last indulgence in before having to go off and get some surgery done tomorrow. So best wishes to Bruce Martin. Secondly, Aaron and I didn't really coordinate on this, so it's kind of an interesting juxtaposition between his remarks and mine. So and I want to affirm a lot of what you said, Aaron. I hear you, and I don't disagree with much of that at all. And then I will add to this. Oh, and I want to also tell you, you weren't the only one who was writing early this morning. A lot of this actually happened as I sat up in bed. You can see the ink marks that are on my written page. That editing happened this morning, even just as I was sitting there listening to the sermon. So here goes. As a person with ADHD, attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, I think a lot about attention. So I had a lot of thoughts about this topic, and here's what I came up with on today's theme, which is the transformative power of attention. Often, when I attempt to reprioritize to whom and what I am attending to and how I pay attention, it is a hope for a new beginning, maybe due to a milestone of some sort, a New Year's resolution, a new leaf, my birthday, particularly milestone birthdays. I learned recently that I was born in the year of the fire horse, so not just any old horse, I'm a fire horse. And I am attempting to draw on that energy because this year is the first one, and I won't mention how many years, that is also a fire horse year in the Chinese calendar. And still, the beginning of a new school year, even though the only real touch points that I have with school now is the uptick in traffic that we have at the beginning of a new school year, and maybe I'll have a new intern. Deaths, another milestone. A member of this congregation recently died. I had noticed that I hadn't seen her in a while, but I had neglected to reach out and see what was going on with her. And so I make yet another resolution to be better about attending to friends I haven't seen in a while, with the death of this friend as a milestone. In some scenarios, particularly with families and close friends, your love language might describe your method of paying attention. According to Prevention Magazine, the 5 love languages are acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, words of affirmation, and physical touch. My nuclear family is not physically demonstrative. That would be an understatement. If I could say that any more clearly, that would be the case. I would say that our love languages are acts of service and quality time. How our parents demonstrated that they cared for us was by doing something, sewing or mending our clothes, making a special meal, teaching us to play sports and attending our sporting events, and serving as volunteers for our school activities. Our mom made sure that we had a good dessert, an act of service to the kids. When we had liver for dinner, an act of service to my father. They did the household chores, they kept the house in good repair, and just basically cared for us in a manner that meant my sisters and I were free to pursue our childhoods as we wished and on our terms. Food plays a big role in this for our family. Maybe that's why I became a Unitarian. When my father couldn't eat properly due to what turned out to be stomach cancer, it was difficult to attend to him, particularly after he entered hospice. Food wasn't something he really wanted, and there weren't many other acts of service that I could do for him, besides caring for my mother. While it meant that I didn't spend as much time with him as I would have otherwise, I knew that he wanted my mother to be comfortable, and that meant driving her to and from the hospice facility 20 miles away, very often leaving his bedside earlier than I would have done had I not been her driver. My father was admitted to the Mercy One Hospital in Des Moines on Tornado Tuesday, the day nearly 2 years ago. I didn't expect to get this emotional about this part. Nearly 2 years ago that Greenfield, Iowa was hit by an F5 tornado. My parents had lived in Greenfield for nearly 33 years at that point. Fortunately for them, and me, quite frankly, their home was not in the path of the tornado. The time between we learned that Greenfield had been hit by a tornado and learning that my parents' home was okay was the most stressful 20 minutes of my life. I couldn't fathom how I could possibly care for my ailing father while cleaning up the ruins of my parents' home. Fortunately, I didn't even have to move a lawn chair. When my dad decided about 10 days later that he would not undergo treatment for the cancer, of course he was sad. When the hospice social worker told me that he was depressed, I wanted to say, no shit, Sherlock. What gave you the first clue? He's dying. I hope the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual didn't hit you on the head when you pulled it off the shelf to look that up. How about some systems thinking? I did not coordinate with Aaron on this, I swear to God. I knew that he would miss his family, his wife of nearly 57 years, and he was unhappy that he wouldn't be able to watch his 4 grandchildren grow into adulthood. But beyond that, I believe that the largest part of his distress was because he couldn't assist with the cleanup of his adopted hometown. Had he been able, he would have been driving a dump truck and taking loads of debris for as many hours and days as he was needed. An act of service to his community and to his neighbors. The milestone of his illness had no longer allowed him to attend to his family, friends, and neighbors in a manner that he was accustomed to attending them to. He couldn't use that act of service and demonstrate his love language. The milestone of my father's illness and death changed the way I attend to my mother. Since my dad is no longer around to perform acts of services for her, I have taken up the mantle. I've learned to use a riding lawnmower. I swear to God, there are more safety features in a riding lawnmower than there are in a car. I drive my mother to medical appointments. I change the furnace filters, and I make sure that the batteries and the smoke detectors are working. I plant the annuals and attend to the perennials in his garden. I make sure there are no tree branches obstructing the pathway of walkers for those walking on the sidewalk. That was one of his pet peeves, and I carry it to this day. Please trim your trees that hang over your sidewalk, folks. The walkers will appreciate it. And those are these acts of service that allow me to attend to through these acts of service that allow me to attend to my mother, I am able to stay more easily connected with my Father. Sometimes it's not paying attention that is transformative, but rather transformative circumstances that change how we pay attention.
Please join me in hymn 44, We Sing of Golden Mornings. We sing of golden mornings, we sing of sparkling seas, of prairies, valleys, mountains, and stately forest trees. We sing of flashing sunshine and life bestowing rain, of birds among the branches and springtime come again. We sing the heart courageous, the youthful eager mind. We sing of hopes undaunted, of friendly ways and kind. We sing the roses waiting beneath the deep piled snows. We sing the earth's great splendor, whose beauty round us flows.
Please join me in saying these words. We extinguish this flame, but not our focus. We quench this candle, but not our quests. To observe this splendid world, to witness each other, these we continue all the moments of our lives.
May the quiet wisdom of the universe settle within us. May we be blessed with the patience to embrace life's unfolding and the attentiveness to hear wisdom in the silence. Let us go forth with a steady heart, observing beauty in the ordinary and trusting that we are enough. May we find peace in the waiting and wonder in the becoming. May our hearts be slow to anger and quick to listen, allowing compassion to guide our steps, trust to anchor our souls, and hope to shine in the pauses. Amen.
Soul of truth, eternal goodness, sojourn with us as we part. Fill our minds with high endeavor, keep us just and pure in heart, strengthen us for daily duty, guide us by the inward light. Hallowed be each coming morning, calm and peaceful be each night. Amen.
As this live stream from First Unitarian Church comes to an end, remember that previous live streams can be found on our YouTube channel. We'd love to see you in person someday. Until then, thanks for joining us.